Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtikim Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So we are reading from Canto 1, Chapter 11, Text 29 and 30. I'll open the sharing my screen. Canto 1, Chapter 11, 29 and 30. Text 29. Taputram Ankamaropya Snehasnuta Payodhara Harsha Vihvalita Manaha Shishичур Netrajair Jalai. Translation. The mothers, after embracing their son, sat him on their laps. Due to pure affection, milk sprang from their breasts. They were overwhelmed with delight, and the tears from their eyes wetted the Lord. Purport. When Lord Krishna was at Vrindavan, even the cows would become moistened by affection towards him, and he would draw milk from the nipples of every affectionate living being. So, what to speak of the stepmothers who were already as good as his own mother? I'm reading next text also. Text 30. Avishat swabhavanam sarvakamam anuttamam prasadayatra patninam sahasrani cha sodasha. Translation. Thereafter, the Lord entered his palaces, which were perfect to the fullest extent. His wives lived in them, and they numbered once over 16,000. Purport. This is also a short purport, so I'll complete reading this before going to the class. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Krishna had 16,108 wives, and for each and every one of them, there was a fully equipped palace, complete with necessary compounds and gardens. Full description of these palaces is given in the 10th canto. All the palaces were made of the best marble stone. They were illuminated by jewels and decorated by curtains and carpets of velvet and silk, nicely bedecked and embroidered with gold lace. The personality of Godhead means one who is full with all power and energy, all opulence, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation. Therefore, in the palaces of the Lord, there was nothing wanting for fulfilling all desires of the Lord. The Lord is unlimited, and therefore his desires are also unlimited, and the supply is also unlimited. Everything being unlimited, it is concisely described here as Sarvakamam, or full with all desirable equipment. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashlakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Tamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum lankhayate girim yat kripatamham vande Shri Guru Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from Canto 11, 21, 29 and 30 in these verses. These are the verses in continuation with from the previous verses, where we see how Lord Krishna entered into Dwaraka and how different people received him, and what are the feelings of different devotees. So here also we see the feelings of different classes of devotees, actually, starting from those who are welcoming Krishna from the entrance of the city gates and into the city. There were many people who were like on the sides of the roads, and Bhagavatam even mentions the presence of people like prostitutes, and also they mention the presence of people like drama artists, musicians, and all different, and then brahmanas who are chanting mantras, and genealogists, and so many other people who came to welcome Lord Krishna into Dwaraka. And now Krishna is like entering into the palace, and he is welcomed by his mothers, and they all showed so much affection. And then his wives, who are around 16,000 wives, and all of them are so much in the mood of serving Krishna. So this we can see in Dwaraka, in Krishna's in Vrindavan. So we see how the leelas are unfolding. In the previous, I mean, in the 10th canto, we read how Krishna leaves Vrindavan. So he was there in Vrindavan since his childhood, and everything appears to be going opposite there. Like Krishna spent so many years, I think around 10 years there approximately in Vrindavan, and after that Akrura came and he started leaving that place and promising the Vrajavasis that he would soon return after finishing up a few tasks. So there we see how devotees were feeling the separation of Krishna, that they were undergoing intense separation, and they were almost like in fact Bhagavatam describes that they were living like lifeless bodies. There is no life in them, as when Krishna left. And we also see how gopis were lying down on the road, so that the Akrura's chariot cannot move ahead. They wanted to always be with Krishna, but then it was Krishna's will that he wanted to leave Vrindavan and then go to Mathura, and after that, of course, Dwarka. So we see whenever Krishna leaves some place, devotees feel intense separation from Krishna, and whenever Krishna enters some place, devotees are in the mood of so there is coming together, and then there is separation. So these two produce intense moods of devotion towards the Lord. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained them as Sambhoga and Vipralamba. So he always, in his teachings, he was always saying that Vipralamba mood of serving Krishna in the Vipralamba Bhav is the highest, and that was exhibited by the gopis of Vrindavan. Here in this section, we see that Lord is being received by so many devotees, and Lord is reciprocating with each and every offering, whether it is simple or big. Lord is reciprocating with everyone's offerings. And like we see just in the 29th shloka, it appears like Lord has become like a child, that he is sitting on the lap of his mothers, and then the mothers were feeling intense mood of Vatsalya Rasa. And in the next purport itself, or next shloka itself, 30th shloka, we see that Krishna is being received by the wives, who are around 16,000. It's mentioned here. Sahasranisha Chodasa Cha Sodasa. There are 16,000 approximately, 16,108 wives. They were all receiving Krishna, and Krishna was able to reciprocate with them as well. So, as towards the end of 30th shloka's purport, Prabhupada says that everything is unlimited. Lord is unlimited, therefore his desires are unlimited. So he has desires to reciprocate his love with motherly affection, that is Vatsalya Rasa, and then here it is Aishwarya Pradana Madhurya. That they have, these are queens of Dwaraka, and they are also in the mood of conjugal love. So the difference between Vrindavan gopis and the Dwarka queens is that Dwarka queens are like officially married to Krishna, whereas gopis of Vrindavan, they were not married to Krishna. They were always meeting each other like paramours, and that is the difference. So in this particular relationship, in this relation which is being explained here in the 30th shloka, there is a particular mood that this wife and husband are never afraid that they will be separated. They have a particular mood of uh, that relationship. Like the wife always wants to serve the husband, and husband receives the service from the wife. Here it is Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, who is the actual bharta of all the living entities, and he is being served by the queens of Dwarka. In fact, that means they are like extremely fortunate. In fact, they are all eternal associates of the Lord. And then the Brajavasis, they have a different mode of serving Krishna. Their meeting with Krishna is always like, there is a fear around that meeting, that, that meeting will soon come to an end. So that brings even more intense mood of service when Krishna and gopis are together. So these sweet exchanges are very, they appear like mundane relationships. They appear like, oh, what is there? A wife and husband are meeting. And after so long, and there are so many wives, maybe Krishna must have struggled to go from palace to palace and to meet each and every wife. It would have taken so many days or months for him. No, but we see here that Krishna is reciprocating with each and every of his devotee simultaneously. It's not that somebody has to wait. That waiting period seems to be over for them. We are all in the waiting period. When will we meet Krishna? We don't know. Depending on the intensity of our practice, one day, if our acharyas show some mercy upon us, and if Krishna agrees to be present in front of us, then we will be able to meet Krishna. But for these ladies, whether they are mothers or whether they are wives of Krishna, they have been waiting all these days for Krishna to arrive in Dwarka. And once Krishna arrived, they were all so happy, and they are expressing their love. And Krishna is such a wonderful personality that he is able to reciprocate with each and every one of them simultaneously, instead of keeping them on some waiting list or something. So that is why he is called Supreme Personality of Godhead. So many times people keep questioning, like, why did Krishna marry so many women? So it is up to him, actually, because Krishna can maintain. He married. What to speak of 16,000? Maybe he can. He's capable of marrying 16 million or even more than that, unlimited number of wives. But that is all because Krishna can reciprocate. We struggle keeping up our family life even with one partner, whether it is wife or husband. But Krishna is not like that. Krishna doesn't have to undergo these struggles, because he is actually the Rasaraj. He is the fountainhead of all happiness. He is the fountainhead. He is the source. In fact, he is the source of all kinds of rasas. and from him all these rasas emanate, and there are all these devotees around him. Some are eternal associates, and some are sadhana siddhas, and all these devotees, they are they are surrounding him, and they are reciprocating with I mean they are showing their love for Krishna, and Krishna is reciprocating with them. So in this way, if we try to analyze the way how Dwarkavasis are showing their love, and compare it with the way Vrindavan Vasis are showing their love, we can clearly see that these two are two different moods in which they are serving Lord Krishna. And Krishna is so perfect that he can reciprocate with any kind of devotee. And that brings us to the point of calling Krishna again as Rasaraj. He is the fountainhead of all pleasure, all happiness, and he is unlimited. And he's unlimited. And when many people who are in the Mayavadi conception of Mayavadi, or even Brahmavadis, they have this conception that Lord means he is Nirakar, Nirgun, and he is, I mean, he doesn't have any feelings, and he is simply Om Shanti, 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 like that. But here Prabhupada mentions very clearly towards the end of this purport, the Lord is unlimited, therefore his desires are also unlimited. So in one sense, this Brahman realization, or which is incomplete, it is a partial realization. It's not possible to understand different moods and reciprocations within that. We always feel like all these relationships are all filled with so much struggle, and that is why we want to avoid them, right? And we think, okay, liberation means these all things will go away, and we can attain ultimate peace. We can do that. But then Prabhupada says, this world is like a negative axis, actually. If you have a number line, y-axis, there is zero, there is negative, and there is positive, right? It is, I mean, we never experienced what is there on the positive axis. We are always on the negative side. And then from the perspective of negative axis, it appears like going to zero is like wonderful, because there is nothing negative there, right? And we think, I mean, going to Brahman realization is something very similar to that, thinking that, okay, uh, we are we are avoiding all these miseries, and we are actually going to uh, the platform of peace. But then there is something on the positive side also that we don't have any experience of, and Bhagavatam gives a first-hand experience of all that positive rasas. Here is one chapter which is filled with all these reciprocations of Krishna. How wonderful it is that Krishna is able to reciprocate with so many living entities at the same time. I would like to read something from Nectar of Devotion, chapter 16. There we see Rupa Goswami explaining these things in a very elaborate manner. Maybe I'll read a few sections in connection to this. Just a moment. I'll share. I'll open that book. This Prabhupada says at few places. Yeah. First of all, he gives the qualification. We must always remember, however, that such eagerness to follow in the footsteps of denizens of Vraja, Vrindavan, is not possible unless one is freed from material contamination. In following the regulative principles of devotional service, there is a stage called Anartha Nivritti, which means the disappearance of all material contamination. So, what is the problem? Why can't people experience reciprocation with Krishna when they have anarthas? The problem is that, I mean, we are at a stage where we can't distinguish between what is material and what is spiritual. We actually are in the material realm, and we only have experience of material pleasure. And what is being spoken in Srimad Bhagavatam is of totally different quality. It has nothing to do with any material enjoyment. Rather, it is totally spiritual. So being in the material realm, it is, I mean, being in the material realm and having experience of only the mundane rasa, Prabhupada calls in the introduction to nectar of devotion. Although rasa is something which has to do only with the spiritual life, Prabhupada calls this as mundane rasa in the beginning, in the introduction to this book. So I mean, when we are experiencing this, it is not possible to experience the spiritual rasa actually. So that is why, first of all, we need to get thoroughly cleansed of these anarthas. That's what Prabhupada is explaining here. Sometimes someone is found, yeah, here it is. Sometimes someone is found imitating such devotional love, but factually he is not freed from anarthas or unwanted habits. It has been seen that so-called devotees proclaim himself a follower of Nanda, Yashoda, or Gopis, while at the same time his abominable attraction for mundane sex life is visible. So we cannot, I mean, this is Prabhupada is explaining the Sahajiya philosophy. They say that you don't have to be purified, you simply have to imitate, or you simply have to claim yourself as followers of some Vrajavasis or Dwarkavasis. Such a manifestation of divine love is mere imitation and has no value. When one is actually spontaneously attracted to the loving principles of the gopis, there will be found no trace of any mundane contamination in his character. So, so this is the true test. Like we also hear this sloka, bhakti pareshanubhave viraktiranyatra cha. So that is the definition actually. Definition is that how do we define pure bhakti? It is pareshanubhave. Paresha means is supreme personality of Godhead, one who is controller of of the spiritual as well as material um, energies. He is paresh anubhave. So we get the experience, direct experience of Krishna, and then viraktir anyatracha, and that is also included. So in there is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam in the second canto, if I remember correctly, where it is where it is said like a person who is experiencing pure love of Krishna, he has tears in his eyes, and there are different characteristics given of such devotee. So that heart is steel framed. If you use this word as a search word, you will find that verse, steel framed heart. In that particular verse, Prabhupada clearly says, I mean, he explains all these different uh, uh, kinds of reciprocations or bhava explained, and then he makes a very powerful point. He says that these all things can be imitated by anyone actually, although they may not be completely purified. These can be imitated. So how do we understand what is the litmus test for measuring the progress of a devotee? So there Prabhupada mentions these are not these are actually paraphrased. So Prabhupada very clearly says that the test is that uh, to the extent your material contamination reduces, to that extent you can be understood to be progressing on the path of spiritual life. So that is a litmus test. He doesn't say about to the extent you experience Krishna, because experiencing Krishna can be imitated by anyone. Anyone can claim that, okay, I'm experiencing Krishna. So that is why the scriptures given by our acharyas, especially Rupa Goswami, they actually give us like a very guiding light. Uh, there is nothing unknown to our acharyas. They actually experienced all this, and they gave us the essence of how to progress on the path of bhakti. What are the different tests you may get on the path of bhakti, how to tackle them, how to progress further, and what is there in the higher and higher realms of bhakti. These are all defined in this particular book called Nectar of Devotion. And Rupa Goswami is expert in explaining these rasas. He's called Rasacharya actually. So Krishna is Rasaraj, and Rupa Goswami is explaining all those rasas to all of us. So that is so wonderful. I would like to go ahead and read a few more sections. In fact, in the previous paragraph, Prabhupada mentioned something related to Vrajavasis and Vrishnis. Yeah, here we see persons desiring to follow in the footsteps of such eternal devotees of the Lord as Vrishnis and Vrindavan denizens are called Raganuga devotees, which means that they are trying to attain to the perfection of those devotees. These Raganuga devotees do not follow the regulative principles of devotional service very strictly. But the spontaneous nature, but by the spontaneous nature, they become attracted to some of the eternal devotees, such as Nanda or Yashoda, and they try to follow in their footsteps spontaneously. There is a gradual development of the ambition to become like a particular devotee, and this activity is called Raganuga. So Prabhupada gives a very clear statement here that anyone who is trying to follow in the footsteps of Rajvasis or Vrishnis, they actually develop an ambition to become like a particular devotee. So they will be given the position of those are explained in the later section. They will be given a position of assisting those devotees in the spiritual realm, because they have that particular mood. So Prabhupada goes on explaining about, in this particular paragraph, it is said by Rupa Goswami, Shri Rupa Goswami, when one is actually liberated from material contamination, he can always remember an eternal devotee in Vrindavan in order to love Krishna in the same capacity. And developing such an aptitude, one will always live in Vrindavan even within his mind. So this is very important to understand. It's not that, okay, of course, Vrindavan is a place where we all visit, considering it to be the holiest of all places in the entire universe, in fact. But then here Rupa Goswami says that the Vrindavan can also manifest in our mind. It is possible. The purport is that if it is possible, one should go and physically be present at Vrajabhumi, Vrindavan, and be engaged always in the service of the Lord, following the devotees in Vrajabhumi, Vrajadhama, the spiritual realm of Vraja. If it is not possible, however, to be physically present at Vrindavan, one can meditate anywhere on living in that situation. Wherever he may be, one must always think about life in Vrajadhama and about following in the footsteps of a particular devotee in the service of the Lord. So what is the conclusion here? What is a takeaway for me after reading this is that now we are reading the pastimes of Krishna entering Dwaraka. Simply by our mere meditation, we can actually be a part of this pastime. We don't have to feel bad that I was not present at that time. How nice it would be. Yeah, that is good. That sentiments are good, but deeply immersing our mind in these pastimes actually make us engaged in these pastimes. We all know the story of this Brahmana who burnt his finger, meditating upon cooking some sweet rice for the Lord, right? So the whole point is that those devotees who are able to participate in these pastimes, uh, they are all fortunate. We are not less fortunate. We are also getting the same nectar. Actually, nothing is less. It is just the amount of the intensity with which we are trying to immerse ourselves in these pastimes. When we immerse ourselves in these pastimes, we are part of that pastime. And when we are immersing ourselves in the material world, which is always around us, and then we become part of material world. It is as simple as that. But to immerse ourselves in those pastimes, there is a certain aptitude which is needed. There is a certain attitude on the part of a devotee which is needed. It's not that anybody and everybody can be able to do that they just enter into the realms of Vrindavan or Dwarka, or for that matter any other spiritual pastime. It's not possible. For that the pre-qualification is that at least one has to totally be purified of all material contamination. And actually Rupa Goswami goes on explaining the same thing over and over again through so many places in this chapter, in the previous chapter also, that one has to be thoroughly cleansed. Prabhupada actually mentions that at so many places before trying to understand all these reciprocations of Krishna with his devotees. And once we are totally pure, it doesn't mean we have attained perfection in participating in these pastimes. It only means that you become qualified to enter these pastimes, and after that there is again the full other process, that is understanding the particular mood of some particular devotees and then trying to follow in their footsteps, trying to serve Krishna just like they are serving, and that all leads to our perfection. That all actually makes us closer to Krishna. And when we are engaged in a particular devotee's service, in assisting him to in his service to Krishna, that becomes like our eternal occupation. So those are all explained in these verses. Coming back to our Bhagavatam verses, we clearly see that different people are able to different people are exchanging different rasas with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that is why he is called Rasaraj. And he has no dearth, and in fact Prabhupada explains about the different opulences also. The personality of Godhead, one who is full with all power, energy, opulences, beauty, knowledge, all renunciation. So all these things are present within Krishna's personality, and although all these are there, he is not attached to any of these. That's why he is the supreme renunciate, actually. So, in fact, in the Rupa Goswami's Nectar of Devotion, it is also mentioned that it is not that only women can think of themselves as gopis of Krishna; even men can do that. And he quotes the example of sages from Dandakaranya, who are actually trying to, who wanted to reciprocate in a conjugal love with Lord Ramachandra, but then they understood that Lord Ramchandra is having this Ekapatni Vrata. But because they had that desire, Lord fulfilled that desire by in Krishna's incarnation, where where all these sages from Dandakaranya, they were born in the Brajabhumi to as gopis, and Krishna fulfilled their desire. So this is how we see, like, Krishna is able to reciprocate with any desire of any particular devotee. So on our part, what is needed is that we cultivate right desires. If we whatever we desire, it seems from all these sections from Srimad Bhagavatam or any other scripture, it seems that whatever you keep desiring over a period of time, that manifests in your life, actually. And that's why it is very important to understand the quality of our desires and how to cultivate pure desires. And those pure desires are possible when we see pure devotees, and when we see them, their lifestyle, what they are desiring for. And that is why the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, all the prayer section, we get a glimpse into the heart of a pure devotee, right? Like we see Dhruva Maharaj prayers, we see Prahlad Maharaj prayers, we see the prayers like the Gopi Geetam and all these such elevated prayers, Gajendra's prayers. They are showing us that how to pray, how to develop, what kind of desires are desirable, uh, and what are they asking for? They are not asking for anything mundane. In fact, even those who have mundane desires, they are also purified by the association of Lord, by the intensity of their devotion. Like we see the example of Dhruva Maharaj. He had a particular ambition, but when he met Narad Muni, he got good direction. Before meeting Narad Muni, it was like flooded river, and it is going in all directions. It is very destructive, right? But Narad Muni's instructions acted like a dam. Sorry, the what to say, it acted like creating a channel, and it channelized, Narad Muni channelized all the propensities of Dhruva Maharaj in the service of the Lord. And when those are engaged, and all those propensities are engaged in the service of the Lord, Dhruva Maharaj was able to attain perfection. And when Lord came in front of him, his desires were totally different, right? We see that, actually, he was not asking for anything what he was previously asking, right? He was simply asking for uh, um, what to say, yeah, sorry. Yeah, he was simply asking for service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was not, in fact, he says about the comparison between the real diamond and the broken pieces of glass, right? So we see that depending on the mood, depending on the intensity of a devotee, depending on the desire of a devotee, Lord reciprocates. So Lord takes every desire very seriously, every desire of his devotee very seriously. That's why it is important for us to learn to cultivate proper desires from the beginning of our bhakti, because Krishna is very keen about fulfilling each and every of those desires. Whether we are I mean, what to say, whether we are uh, in this stage of where we are not completely pure, but even now, if we desire something, it will manifest by the mercy of Supreme Lord. It will manifest in our life, and at that point, we may say that, oh no, I'm not interested in this now. But then Krishna says, no, you desired for it. Please take it. So the whole process works like this. First of all, we may desire something because of having some contamination in the heart. We may desire something which is not desirable. Actually, we may ask for something material. uh, so Krishna sees whether we are pure enough to handle that. If we are not pure enough to handle, to show his special mercy, he may not be granting that desire. He may simply say that, no, I don't want to give, because he's not like a demigod. Demigods are like, you pray to them as it is given in the, by following the procedures given in the Vedic literature, and they are bound to fulfill your desires. Whereas Krishna is not like that. Krishna is not bound by anything, and Krishna, by his own sweet will, he may say that, okay, I won't fulfill your desire. And that is why people are, not very, uh, not very, I mean, they don't come to Krishna so easily, because Krishna is very independent. Like, he doesn't want to fulfill your desire now. He says, okay, I won't fulfill. But then over a period of time, we keep desiring. At that phase, we may have to undergo so much struggle, because we think like, okay, without fulfilling that particular desire, life is miserable. But then Krishna says, no, I don't want to fulfill that desire, because it's not good for you. It's like a father saying to a child that, smoking is bad. Just like they give this example, like, you go to a shopkeeper and ask for a cigarette, he will just give that. I mean, he's not concerned about our health. But if you go to a father and say, father, I want to purchase a cigarette, he may not give us money. So Krishna is like that father. He says, no, don't take that, because it's not good for you, and I am not going to sanction that. And it is out of his mercy upon us that sometimes he may not give us, what we desire. But then over a period of time, if we sincerely keep practicing bhakti, it's not that I mean, we don't want to practice bhakti with an intention to fulfill some desire. Rather, we want to practice bhakti with an intention to please Krishna, right? And Krishna knows it very clearly. I mean, we can't cheat Krishna. We can't say that, okay, Krishna, I'm pleasing you, but in the core of our heart, we are developing this attitude that, okay, one day my desire will be fulfilled. No, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, he's the of all the gamblers, he's the topmost cheater, right? So we can't actually cheat Krishna, and that is what is the speciality of Krishna. He just knows what is the deeper, most inner thought of us, even before we realize. Actually, he knows that, and he reciprocates with that. And we see that when we practice devotional service over a period of time, it's not that, if we are pure enough, we see that, the desire actually minimizes in our heart, and we feel like, okay, Krishna is actually able to reciprocate with me in such a way that I don't need something which I had been asking, all this time. I don't need that anymore, because I'm satisfied with what I have now. This is the greatest benediction of the path of bhakti, that it gives us satisfaction, right? So when we are satisfied in our heart, what do we desire for? I mean, we don't desire for anything material. And that satisfaction is actually the manifestation of Krishna's mercy in our life. And we can clearly understand, whether we are satisfied with what we have around us, or whether we are wanting to get more and more and more. When we want to get more and more and more, that is only going to, increase our passion and ignorance. But when we are satisfied, and how does this satisfaction appear? When we practice devotional service with pure heart, with as much purity as possible, I would say. When we practice devotional service following in the footsteps of our acharyas, then Krishna actually manifests that satisfaction in our life. And that is the greatest benediction which we can experience, because when we are satisfied, we have no more hankerings, right? We keep on hankering all the time. Every day, every moment, we keep on hankering for so many things, and all these hankerings just stop. And that gives us so much of free thought. So much of mental energy is just conserved, and all that energy can be directed in the service of Krishna. And when we when we direct that energy in the service of Krishna, Krishna gives us more satisfaction, and that is how a devotee becomes detached from the opulences or from the things of this world, because he's totally satisfied in his heart. He's feeling like, oh, I don't want anymore. If I don't need anything else, if Krishna is with me, I am totally happy. And Krishna reciprocates with that desire. Otherwise, what happens is, if we are harboring some desire in our heart and thinking that, okay, Krishna will fulfill that desire, and we practice bhakti. In fact, it is said that Harinam, the chanting of the holy names, can fulfill any of our desire, right? Even up to the point of liberation. It is very easy, by chanting the holy names, to fulfill these desires is very easy, actually. uh, but then, if Krishna has some special mercy upon us, he won't allow us to fulfill all these desires. He won't allow us to get whatever we are asking for, because they are not good for us. But then it is very easy by chanting the holy names. And what is more difficult is, pleasing Krishna. And Krishna says that I am ready to give anything to you if you desire so, but I won't be available. So it is always a choice in the life of a devotee, whether, at every point we experience this, that Krishna puts a multiple choice question. There are two choices. One is some desire which we want to fulfill, and the second is Krishna. And Krishna says, choose one of them. You can't choose both. Choose me or choose something else. And if you choose something else, Krishna says, okay, I will wait. I will wait. Maybe you need more purification. And Krishna keeps us through that purificatory process, by which over a period of time we feel like, what was I desiring for? I don't want this, I want Krishna, right? So that is when we become, actually, that is the stage where we have got enough purification, and we got enough discrimination and intelligence because of the purification, to choose right thing, that is Krishna. And on the other hand, if we don't choose Krishna, then Krishna will wait. On the other hand, if we choose Krishna, that is actually, going ahead, passing the test, and going to the next stage. So Krishna, then there is another test there, and again there are choices, right? One is Krishna, and the other is something else. And when we choose Krishna, we pass the test and go ahead. So this is how we progress on the path of devotional service. And when we choose something other than Krishna, sometimes you may have to wait for lifetimes, right? Because every action has a consequence, and sometimes the consequence is that you may have to end up in the heavenly planets for so many thousands of years. And then Krishna keeps waiting all this time and says, okay, now you have fulfilled your desire, you're satisfied. We say, no, Krishna, I'm not satisfied, because fulfilling our desire doesn't give us satisfaction. Satisfying Krishna gives us satisfaction. So when we understand all these dynamics, our progress on the path of bhakti becomes easy. And what is the goal? The goal is to have pure reciprocations with Krishna, as those are explained in these verses, where Krishna is reciprocating with his mothers, Krishna is reciprocating with his wives, and all these reciprocations bring so much satisfaction to our heart, isn't it? Reading each and every verse of Bhagavatam every day in the morning, and explaining, hearing to the explanation of various devotees, this is like, nourishing our heart. We may not be able to see that, just like, our bodies are grown now. We are all in adult bodies, you know and where is this coming from? This is, I mean, these bodies are the product of, our feeding it since our childhood, right? And that is slowly converting into different, grown up parts of our body. So even without our knowledge, when we take prasadam, we are feeling nourished. So similarly, even without our knowledge, we take Krishna Katha within us, we start feeling nourished. We may not be able to realize it right now, but that is happening. That is happening at a very subtle level. And because of that, uh, what to say, because of that nourishment, we keep growing as a staunch, stout devotee, we can say. Just like a person who is taking right kind of food, he nourishes his body. Similarly, uh, our food is chanting and hearing on the spiritual realm. When we accept that food, we start feeling very nourished. And when that food is not there, we all have experience, right? Imagine if you don't hear any Krishna Katha for, let us say, 2 weeks or maybe a month, maybe because of some busy schedule or whatever. That time, don't you feel very weak and undernourished? We feel very weak in our bhakti. Even small thing like completing our chanting or something becomes like, it's like a mountainous task. We feel like, oh man, I mean, such a huge task. Somehow I finished it, right? So all these are experienced by all of us. So the whole point is we need to feel nourished in the path of bhakti by chanting and hearing. And that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says also, that, this creeper of devotion is given to you, and you become the gardener by nourishing the plant by the activities of Shravanam and Kirtanam. And it is sure that when this creeper grows properly, it is going to grow, bigger and bigger and bigger, and one day it is ultimately going to give us the fruit of love of Krishna, actually. So we only have to focus there. We only have to keep on nourishing the creeper of devotion. And as we progress on the path, as we start feeling more and more, start attaining more and more purification by reducing the anarthas in our heart, uh, it's just in the process that we start aspiring for following in the footsteps of the Brajavasis. And that actually gives us, that actually takes us to the platform of Raganuga. And on the Raganuga platform, we are actually experiencing these reciprocations with Krishna, what we see in these particular verses. So uh, in essence, we see that Krishna is Rasaraj. He can actually reciprocate with any kind of any kind of desire in our heart, or any devotee for that matter, even the Brajavasis or the Dwarkavasis. He's able to reciprocate with them so wonderfully that they as they say, seamlessly, right? We don't experience any lag or anything. The devotees here are also like, simultaneously they are all experiencing the wonderful activities of Krishna. They are welcoming Krishna into Dwaraka, and Krishna's reciprocation with different devotees has been covered by so many of our Bhagavatam speakers every day, and they are also amazing, actually. So Krishna, if we also want to invite Krishna into our hearts, only thing we have to do is, like, just follow the process given by our acharyas, with faith and loyalty. And by doing so, we are actually nourishing the creeper of our bhakti. And one day it is sure that Krishna manifests in our heart, and he starts reciprocating with us also. So that is in essence. So it is 7:52 now. If anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to ask.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All I wanted to say is you nourished the creeper of my bhakti today.
Krishna, Mataji. I feel so fortunate that you are here, and I was actually expecting that, okay, Mataji could speak a few words and nourish us, actually. Thank you very much.
You nourished me. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Mataji. So fortunate.
Thank you so very much. I was missing classes for a while because of too many calls. So it was so wonderful hearing you speak. Thank you so very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. So this means a lot to me, Mataji, actually. Thanks a lot.
I do have some good
Yes,
news
Mataji.
for all of you. I think the nourishing the creeper of bhakti is going to continue to happen here. Krishna brings the right devotees.
Yes.
When at the right time, like, he knows how to do that, right? He reciprocates so perfectly. So just, I don't know whether this information is for public consumption, but at least for those, you can keep, all of you can keep it to yourself for now. Gopala Hari Prabhu, you know him, everybody? Gopal Hari Prabhu, Aruda Mataji's second son.
Yes.
He is moving to Naperville.
Haribol.
And I was thinking that we can, devotees like yourself and so many others, um, we can once the COVID goes, we can start morning programs and create a structure here, because a temple building is wonderful. Krishna's mercy, we are getting a temple building, but what is a building without Krishna Katha, right?
Yeah, yes, yes.
So everybody in Naperville is living barely 5 minutes, 10 minutes distance, and creating that Sangha early in the morning, that will be so wonderful. We have to lay the foundation for that. So I thought this will be good news for all of you, those of you
Certainly,
who know.
Mataji.
Yes.
Yeah. It is amazing. It is wonderful to hear that, Mataji. Thank you for
Yeah. Yes.
sharing that. Yes, Mataji.
Thank you so much for sharing that news, Mataji. Krishna.
Everyone is happy. So, any others?
Yes,
Yes, Mataji, please go.
the thing is that we all know that temple construction is happening. Krishna is making it happen. Then the real thing is here, it's not just the building. It is, how do we glorify him so nicely?
Yeah.
And there are so many different things that we have to do. And how do you utilize the facility given to us properly in Krishna's service? And that should be our meditation. And that's why I recently sent that message, Brahma Samhita prayers, in our I really wanted us to develop that mood, that our whatever we do is not just an activity. It's all for glorification of Krishna. It is not just, it should never remain as an activity. You very nicely explained that. There are, everything is, the more you glorify Krishna by your activity, and then otherwise it will remain just as an activity, and we don't want it like that. Prabhupada wanted centers of excellence to be built.
Yes,
And I was
Mataji.
thinking like it is generations of devotees' hard work, you know, generations of devotees who will be making this to that center of excellence, and it will be a center of excellence. There is no question about it. And so, um, everybody has a part to play in that, and it will all depend upon the mode of that service. It cannot be like the doership mentality. If it creeps in there, even sweeping the floor is of no use. It's like me, I am sweeping this floor, and no, you are doing that because Krishna gave you that opportunity to serve him, so that you can develop that consciousness, or yam 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 vapi smaran bhavam. Krishna says, right, tejadyante kalevaram
Kalevaram.
tam tam evaiti kaunteya sadatat bhava bhavidaha. And so I was thinking, we all know that bhava is used twice in that verse. And how do you get there? You will never get there if doership mentality creeps in. You explained a lot, and I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for being here and nourishing the community. I deeply appreciate that. And I was thinking, without our asking, Krishna is providing such nice devotees in this community. And so we have to be so grateful that he's providing and providing and providing everything he's providing. And then each one of us, the way we reciprocate to that, it matters a lot. Because if our activities don't take us towards Krishna, every single little thing that we do, if it doesn't help us to go towards Krishna, otherwise what is the difference between us and a million people constructing buildings and doing things, right? We are also constructing a building, and we are also doing things, and there is a huge difference, but that huge difference will be felt only if we consciously understand this and apply it and do it. And it's very simple. We don't need to be intellectuals at all. All Nane Prayasam verse Maharaj has been speaking that repeatedly. Yeah, it's not just knowledge at all. It's not at all knowledge. It is something totally different. And so I'm happy to share that news, because not just as a news, but it is more like the quality association, and how do we make the best use of that, and how do we create an environment here where everybody participates. And I myself, I missed all these Bhagavatam classes because of all the calls, but I felt that I have to do those things because my calls usually start around 8:30 or 9, and it goes till late in the evening. It is like, and so I don't get much of a time at all, so I got to preserve my early morning time. And so I was thinking that anyway, all of this, whatever it is that I am put to do here, it is for serving you, all of you. I was thinking that whatever I am asked to do is to serve all of you, and because of that, it's okay for now. If I don't have time, I will have to, I have to do what I have to do. But all of us have to be part of this Bhagavatam group. That otherwise, what is the point of our existence anyway? But unfortunately for me, because of these calls, which is necessary to get to where we want to go, and somebody has to do that, and so that happens to be me. So I missed out a lot of classes. I will try my best to come back. That's all I can say. Thank you so very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. So I think it's 8:02. Maybe we can stop here. Thanks Mataji for sharing all that once again. It's really wonderful that devotees are sent by Krishna here, and we are all fortunate to receive their association. Thank you, Mataji. So we'll stop here. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.